Hello mates, welcome to the West 6 Mixology podcast. I'm Scotty Clark, and our show today is about a velvety spiced classic that'll wrap you in warmth. The hot buttered rum with a touch of bubbly elegance. Picture this. It's freezing outside, sometime in the late 1600s, and you're standing in a colonial tavern that's barely warmer than the street. The fireplace is working overtime, but your bones still feel like ice. The bartender, though they didn't call them that yet, slides a pewter mug across the rough wooden bar. Steam rises from it like a ghost, carrying the smell of rum, butter, and spices that cost more than most people earned in a week. You wrap your frozen hands around that mug, and suddenly, the world doesn't seem quite so harsh. That, my friends, is the hot buttered rum. Not just a cocktail, but a survival mechanism wrapped in deliciousness. And here's the thing nobody tells you. This drink is older than the word cocktail itself. It's a direct line to how our ancestors got through winter before central heating, before fleece, before any of the things we take for granted. Just butter, rum, sugar, spices, and the kind of warmth that makes you believe in magic. So let's talk about where this liquid blanket came from. Hot buttered rum doesn't have a single inventor. No bartender took a bow, no moment of genius we can point to. Instead, it emerged from this beautiful collision of circumstances in colonial America. You've got English settlers bringing their tradition of hot, spiced drinks across the Atlantic. Things like possets and caudles and flips, these weird, wonderful concoctions their grandparents drank back in England. But here's the problem. Those drinks typically called for brandy or wine, which were expensive and hard to get in the colonies. You know what wasn't hard to get? Rum. Boatloads of it, literally. The triangular trade was pumping Caribbean rum into every colonial port from Boston to Charleston. It was cheaper than beer, more available than clean water, and it kept forever. So naturally, people started substituting rum into their traditional hot drink recipes. But the truly American innovation, the thing that makes this drink ours, is the butter. See, England had limited dairy production. Butter was precious, carefully rationed. But the American colonies? Cows everywhere. Dairy farms proliferating across New England like colonial dairy farms. Butter was abundant, cheap, and people were figuring out all sorts of ways to use it. Someone, somewhere, probably in multiple places simultaneously, had the brilliant idea to add a massive spoonful of butter to their hot rum drink. And it worked! It worked so well that within a generation, this became the winter drink across the colonies. Now, here's what's fascinating about the context. These colonial homes were brutally cold. We're talking about structures with gaps in the walls, single-pane windows if you were lucky, and fireplaces that heated one side of you while the other side froze. People went to bed with heated stones wrapped in cloth. They wore multiple layers indoors. Winter was genuinely dangerous, and hot drinks weren't just pleasant, they were functional. A hot buttered rum provided calories, warmth, and a sense of comfort that made the long, dark winters psychologically bearable. Taverns kept kettles by the fire specifically for these drinks. Families maintained spiced butter batters throughout the cold months, ready to mix at a moment's notice. And here's something I love about this drink. It wasn't class-specific. Dock workers and sailors drank rough versions in waterfront taverns. Simple rum, butter, hot water, maybe some sugar if they were lucky. Meanwhile, wealthy merchants in their parlours were drinking elaborate versions with expensive imported spices. The same basic drink, scaled to whatever your budget allowed. That's deeply American, in a way that makes me oddly emotional. This drink didn't care who you were. It just wanted to keep you warm. By the 19th century, the drink had reached its peak. Recipe books and household guides treated it as common knowledge, something every competent household should be able to prepare. But then things shifted. Whiskey started displacing rum as America's spirit of choice. Home heating improved dramatically. The cocktail revolution of the late 1800s pushed cold, sophisticated mixed drinks to the forefront. Hot, buttered rum started feeling old-fashioned, rural, something your grandparents drank. It never disappeared entirely. New England kept the tradition alive. Ski resorts embraced it. Maritime communities held on to it. But it faded from the mainstream. More after our break.
My name is Tom Sachs. I'm an artist in New York City. For nearly 2 decades, I have been collaborating with Nike.
Nike running is for runners, Nike basketball is for basketball. Nike craft is for everyone else.
The modern craft cocktail revival has brought it back, though. Bartenders rediscovered historical recipes, refined techniques, started paying attention to rum quality and spice balance. Now you'll find thoughtful versions at serious cocktail bars during winter months, often with premium aged rums and house-made spice blends. The drink has come full circle, from necessity to nostalgia to legitimate craft cocktail respect. So let's build one properly, because this drink deserves better than the artificial, pre-made mixes you sometimes encounter. The modern approach uses a batter method, which sounds complicated, but actually makes everything easier. You're going to make a spiced butter compound that you can keep in your fridge and portion out whenever the temperature drops below reasonable. Start with 8 ounces of unsalted butter. That's 2 sticks, softened to room temperature. This isn't optional softness. If your butter is cold, you're going to end up with a grainy mess instead of a smooth batter. Give it an hour on the counter. Into that butter, you're adding 8 ounces of dark brown sugar, packed, meaning you press it down into the measuring cup until it's dense. The molasses in brown sugar is crucial. It creates this flavor harmony with rum because they're both derived from sugarcane. They speak the same chemical language. Now here's the secret weapon, the ingredient that separates modern recipes from historical ones. 8 ounces of softened vanilla ice cream. I know, sounds weird. But ice cream does 3 brilliant things. First, it contains emulsifiers, egg yolks and stabilizers that help butter and water integrate smoothly instead of separating into greasy sadness. Second, it adds cream richness and vanilla depth that enhance everything else. Third, the churned structure creates a lighter, fluffier texture than butter and sugar alone could achieve. Use real ice cream, not frozen dairy dessert or low-fat nonsense. The fat and sugar are structurally important, not just flavor elements. For spices, you're adding a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. This is your primary spice note, the warm foundation everything else builds on. Half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg, though I'm begging you to grate this fresh if you possibly can. Pre-ground nutmeg tastes like aromatic dust. Fresh grated nutmeg smells like Christmas and tastes like magic. 1/4 teaspoon each of ground cloves and ground allspice. The cloves add penetrating depth and prevent the drink from being one-dimensionally sweet. The allspice is particularly appropriate because it's native to Jamaica and the Caribbean. It comes from the same place as your rum, and that geographical harmony creates flavor harmony. Finally, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. This seems negligible, but it's transformative. Salt doesn't make the drink salty. It enhances and clarifies every other flavor, prevents the sweetness from becoming cloying, adds subtle complexity that makes the difference between good and unforgettable. Mix all of this together until it's completely homogeneous. Smooth, fluffy, well incorporated. This makes enough batter for about 12 drinks, and it'll keep in your refrigerator for a month, which means you're dangerously prepared for winter. Now, when you want to make a drink, and you will want to make a drink, here's what happens. Put 2 tablespoons of that beautiful batter into a heat-proof mug. Add 2 ounces of aged dark rum. This is where you make decisions. Appleton Estate Reserve gives you balanced, approachable character. Smith & Cross delivers funky, intense Jamaican personality. Though you might want to use only 1.5 ounces because it's bold. Eldorado 8 or 12 year brings rich Demerara smoothness with toffee notes. Plantation 5 year is versatile and widely available. The key is aged rum with real character, because you're about to dilute this, and the rum needs to stand up to hot water and assert itself through all that butter and spice. More after our break.
Building a new product? Temez Labs takes you from napkin sketch to the App Store. Trusted by Fortune 500s for quality, security, and speed. Book your free strategy session at temez.ai.
Pour in 4 to 6 ounces of hot water. And here's where technique matters. The water should be hot, but not boiling. About 180 to 190 degrees Fahrenheit, which is water that's been boiled and then rested for a minute. Boiling water will volatilize your alcohol and break the butter emulsion, creating a greasy, separated mess. Too cool water won't melt the batter properly. You're looking for that sweet spot where everything integrates smoothly. Stir this thoroughly. Don't just swirl it, really stir, getting the batter to dissolve completely and emulsify with the water. You want a smooth, creamy consistency, not butter globules floating on top. When it's properly mixed, it should look almost like a thin custard, slightly opaque from the emulsified fat, aromatic steam rising with every stir. Grate fresh nutmeg over the top, a few passes on a microplane, enough to create a visible dusting and an aromatic cloud. This garnish isn't decorative. It's delivering volatile aromatic compounds directly to your nose with every sip, intensifying the entire experience. Drop in a cinnamon stick if you're feeling fancy. It looks appealing, sure, but it also continues to infuse subtle flavour as you drink, and it gives you something to stir with. Here's what you need to understand about technique. The emulsification is everything. If your butter separates, you've got a greasy surface slick and a disappointing drink underneath. If it emulsifies properly, you've got this velvety, coating, luxurious texture that's unlike anything else in the cocktail world. The secret is temperature control and good stirring. Some bartenders use a small whisk or even a milk frother to ensure complete integration. Do whatever works, but don't accept separation. This drink should be smooth. The hot buttered rum matters because it's a direct line to how people comforted themselves before modern convenience, before technology made warmth cheap and easy. All right. Thank you for joining us for the West 6 podcast. Drink responsibly, and if you had a good time, press follow and rate our show 5 stars. This is Scotty signing off. May your troubles be lighter than your cocktails.
Grab news. Tamez.